You know that carved pumpkin sitting on a porch with that spooky, flickering grin? Ever stop and wonder where that really comes from? Well, it's a story that crawls right out of the mists of old Irish folklore. It's a legend about a man so incredibly cunning he actually tried to cheat damnation itself. So let's get into the legend of Stingy Jack. Just look at this scene. You've got this lonely figure holding a single, tiny light against this huge, crushing darkness. He's trapped, you see. He can't go forward, can't go back, just caught in this gray space between heaven and hell. So who is he? And how in the world did he get stuck wandering for all eternity? His story? Well, it's one heck of a warning.
All right, so to really understand the curse, first, we've got to understand the man. And let me tell you, this was no ordinary fella.
So, meet Stingy Jack. He lived in a world of shadows and whispers, and honestly, he fit right in. He wasn't known for being a good neighbor or having a heart of gold. Oh no. Jack was famous for one thing: his razor-sharp mind and his even sharper dealings. His entire life was basically built on trickery, on ducking his debts, and always looking out for number one. This was a man who constantly had a scheme cooking.
Now, you live a life like that, it doesn't exactly go unnoticed. And eventually, Jack's reputation for being a real piece of work, well, it got the attention of the one being you never, ever want to make a deal with. So one night, Jack's stumbling home from the tavern, and his time was up. The devil himself just materializes out of the shadows, ready to finally collect the soul of this legendary sinner. Now, for most people, this would be the end of the line. But for Stingy Jack, this was just the start of his greatest con yet.
Thinking on his feet, Jack says, "Hold on, how about one last drink for the road?" And when it comes time to pay, he dares the devil, dares him, to show off his power by turning into a silver coin. The devil, probably amused, does it. And in a flash, bam, Jack snatches that coin and shoves it into his purse, right next to a silver crucifix he just happened to be carrying. And just like that, the holy symbol makes the devil completely powerless.
I mean, just stop and think about the sheer nerve of this guy. Jack literally has the devil in his pocket. He refuses to let him out until the devil agrees to a deal. You have to leave my soul alone for 10 more years. Defeated, trapped, the devil really had no choice but to agree.
So, you might think, okay, a brush with eternal damnation. Surely Jack used this new lease on life to change his ways, right? Not a chance. The next 10 years go by, and Jack just doubles down. He gets even more deceitful. His heart grows colder, harder, with every single person he tricks. He didn't learn a single lesson. He just perfected his technique.
So 10 years later, to the day, the devil shows up again. But Jack, he was ready for him. He spots the devil coming and immediately pretends to be starving, begging the devil to climb a nearby tree to get him an apple. And somehow, in a moment of unbelievable oversight, the devil actually does it. And right here, Jack plays his ace. The second the devil is up in the branches, Jack whips out his knife and carves a cross into the bark of the tree, trapping him all over again. Only this time, Jack's demand was way bigger. The price for freedom? An eternal, binding promise that the devil would never claim his soul. Not now, not ever. So, Jack had won. He thought he'd pulled it off. He had an ironclad guarantee against hell itself. He thought he was untouchable, that he'd completely secured his fate. But in making a deal to keep him out of hell, he forgot one very, very important detail about heaven.
Years later, Jack's life of scheming and trickery finally comes to a close. He dies, and he makes his way to the great beyond, walking with a confident swagger right up to the pearly gates. He's probably thinking, well, if hell can't have me, where else am I going to go?
Yeah, but heaven isn't a place you can just trick your way into. They took one look at his life's ledger, a long, long list of selfishness, greed, and lies, and they turned him away, flat out. His soul was just too stained, too empty of any real goodness to be let inside.
So, locked out of heaven, Jack gets desperate. He travels to the only other address he knows, the gates of hell. But who do you think is waiting for him there? A very familiar face and one who has a very, very long memory about being made a fool of twice.
And the devil, probably with a huge smirk on his face, upholds his end of the bargain. He couldn't claim Jack's soul, he promised, but that promise said nothing about having to let him in. So instead, he curses Jack to an eternity in the void, a restless spirit with absolutely nowhere to go. Rejected by heaven, rejected by hell, Jack was cast out into the endless, cold, consuming darkness. But the devil had one last little parting gift for the man who thought he was so smart.
As a final mockery, the devil tosses Jack a single burning ember from the fires of hell. It wasn't for warmth. Oh no, it was just enough light so he could see the empty path he was doomed to walk forever. And Jack, always resourceful, finds a turnip, hollows it out, and puts the coal inside to make himself a little lantern. And it's this tradition of carving lanterns, originally turnips, that Irish immigrants would later bring to America, where they discovered the pumpkin was even better for the job.
And so, he began his endless walk through the darkness. From that day on, nobody called him Stingy Jack anymore. He became something new, a phantom, a wandering soul known to folklore as Jack of the Lantern, which, as time went on, got shortened to the name we all know today, Jack-o'-lantern.
And that's really the chilling heart of this whole legend. Sure, Jack was clever enough to escape the fires of hell, but his life of pure self-interest left his soul completely empty. And the story tells us that, for a soul with no goodness in it, there can be no true home, just a deep, dark, and eternal loneliness.
Are you just going to see a Halloween decoration? Or are you going to see the ghost of a clever man, forever paying the price for a life lived without an ounce of kindness, carrying his lonely little light through the endless dark?